Okay, so welcome and good evening. I'm Cleland Snedden. I'm the returning officer for the Scottish local government elections, and I'd like to welcome you to the pre-nomination awareness session for the 2022 Scottish local government elections. So thank you very much for attending, and I hope you find this session useful. Also on the call, I'd like to introduce Gordon Stewart, who's the Deputy Returning Officer. Gordon, give everybody a wave. And Tracy O'Hara from our election team. Tracy, I just confirmed we were recording a second ago. So put some names to faces. So as well as ourselves, I'm sure you're aware there are numerous others involved in running this election, and details of key contacts are contained in your pre-nomination information pack at Appendix 1. In addition to the recording of the session, a note's been prepared and will be made available to you as soon as possible. So please don't feel you have to scribble everything down. You will be given a copy of the slide deck that accompanies the script I'm going to talk to tonight. I'm just going to keep everybody on screen rather than show a PowerPoint, just for a bit more personal connection. There's a relatively small number of us on the call. At any stage, if anybody wants to raise a question, if you can maybe raise the hand icon on Teams, and Gordon will let me know that somebody's waiting, or alternatively, I'll stop at key stages through the presentation and take any questions at that point, or indeed wait to the end. The aims for the session are summarised on your agenda, but I'll just run through these briefly. So firstly, to advise you of the COVID measures in place during the nomination process. Secondly, to provide information on standing at this election and the nomination process itself. Highlight key dates on the timetable of arrangements. Then discuss what happens after the close of nominations. Provide information on local contacts and arrangements for the election. And then finally, as I mentioned, provide you an opportunity to ask questions. I appreciate that a number of you will be quite well versed in the pre-nomination information, but for the benefit of all attendees, I'm going to cover what you need to know to assist you in your considerations as they head towards the nomination day. I'm just getting a wee bit of feedback on someone's microphone, if people could potentially mute their microphones, just so we don't get the same feedback. So the most obvious point from today is you'll appreciate the current pandemic means there are a number of changes to existing arrangements, and I'll briefly cover tonight some of the measures in place in relation to nominations. This is the first of a number of briefing sessions prior to the poll date, and at subsequent sessions I'll cover COVID measures in relation to the poll, in relation to postal votes, and in relation to the count. For those of you familiar with election events, I would highlight that many of these arrangements will be different from those you have experienced previously. My intention, as with the Scottish parliamentary elections last year, is to deliver a COVID-safe election, and I will take whatever measures are necessary to ensure that this takes place. There's a reasonable amount of information provided to you in the pre-nomination information pack and in the nomination pack that I'm sure you'll find useful. I will work through the agenda, but please, as I said, if there are any questions that come up from the run-through that I'm doing, please just raise the hand function and we'll try to cram in as many questions as we can. So moving on to the returning officer, myself, and the electoral registration officer responsibilities. So I'm aware that there are often a level of confusion about the roles of returning officer, RO, and the electoral registration officer, ERO. Perhaps due to the fact that down south in England, the RO and the ERO are often the same person, but in Scotland that's not the case. The two positions are legally distinct. In Scotland, the returning officer is often the chief executive of the council, as I am, although there are some exceptions. And the returning officer is personally responsible for the running of the election. I can appoint deputies with full or specific powers to assist, but the returning officer role is fully distinct to my role as chief executive of the council, and I am not accountable to the council for the election, but rather I am legally accountable. This separation of functions is critical to the integrity of the elections. And as returning officer, I've got in place an election team, which is led by Gordon, who will carry out the day-to-day running of the election, and they are likely to be the first points of contact for you. As returning officer, it's my aim to ensure that candidates, agents, the media and the public accept and have confidence in the election arrangements and the results. This now extends to include the safe systems of work at each step of the administration of the election for all stakeholders. I need to keep everyone safe. The election is transparent to those scrutinising and observing the process, and I need to ensure that assistance is given to candidates and agents to understand what is involved at the count. I need to ensure that clear and helpful information is provided to candidates and to agents both prior to and during the various events. And then finally, I need to ensure the number of queries or complaints that may arise is reduced. To assist in achieving the above, please contact me or the election team as soon as you're aware of any issues that we may be able to help with. So, turning to the electoral registration officer, in Scotland, they're appointed by the local authority and they're responsible for the preparation and the maintenance of the register of electors and the list of absent voters in their area. The key deadline dates for the electoral registration officer are as follows. Deadline for new postal votes and postal proxy applications and for changes to existing postal or proxy arrangements is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 19th of April 2022. Registration deadline is midnight on Monday, the 18th of April 2022. Cancellations to existing postal and proxy arrangements is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 19th of April 2022. And the deadline for new proxy applications is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 26th of April 2022. And then finally, the deadline for emergency proxy applications is 5 p.m. on Thursday, the 5th of May 2022. So all of those dates are in the material that will be circulated to you. There's a number of others who are involved in election arrangements. I'll just run through those briefly. In addition to the election team at South Lanarkshire, the key bodies that are involved in this election include, firstly, the Electoral Commission. Contact details are provided in your handout, and the Electoral Commission are responsible for the registration of political parties, campaign election expenses, reporting on election arrangements, and providing guidance. There are many helpful documents on their website at www.electoralcommission.org.uk, and I would encourage prospective candidates to familiarise themselves with that guidance. The second party I would highlight is the Scottish Government, who are responsible for the legislation for this election. The electronic count arrangements and also the appointment of the contractor that is in this election, Fujitsu, to conduct the count also are the responsibility of the Scottish Government. We have a number of contractors. I have appointed a company called Criticom as a contractor who have produced the poll cards, and I've also appointed Fujitsu, who will run the e-count in partnership with a company called iDocs, who are responsible for the printing of the ballot papers and postal voting packs, and for the e-count hardware and software. It will be of interest for you to note that South Lanarkshire have worked directly with iDocs in successfully delivering a number of e-counts, e-count by-elections in this area. Fujitsu and iDocs are also reputable companies who have had a long-standing experience within the running of elections in Scotland, and they will provide opportunities for candidates and agents to observe an e-count demonstration nearer to polling day. I will provide more specific information in relation to this at the post-nomination session. The next party I would highlight is the Electoral Management Board. You'll often hear them referred to as the EMB for Scotland. The board's key objectives are to ensure that candidates, agents, the media and the public accept and have confidence in the election and the results, ensure the election is transparent to those scrutinising and observing the processes, assist candidates and agents to understand what is involved in an e-count, provide clear and helpful information to candidates and agents both prior to and during the various events, and reduce the number of queries or complaints that could arise. The EMB are currently working on a guidance document for those attending the count, and that document will be provided to you in due course. Two more parties I want to highlight to you. Royal Mail provide a mailing service to candidates, and their documentation is contained in your nomination pack detailing this service. And then finally, Police Scotland. Police officers will visit the polling places periodically on polling day and will also be in attendance at the count. In relation to election legislation, Appendix 3 of your handout highlights the relevant legislation which governs the conduct of Scottish local government elections and has been prepared to be helpful. However, it is not exhaustive, and you should therefore take your own legal advice should the need arise. In relation to the voting system that we'll be using is the single transferable vote system. That means votes using numbers ranked in order of preference. A briefing note on STV is detailed at Appendix 2 in your pack and also in the nomination pack. Ballot papers. Instructions on the ballot paper are to number the candidates in order of your choice. Put the number 1 in the box next to the name of the candidate who is your first choice, 2 in the box next to your second choice, 3 in the box next to your third choice, and so on. You can make as many or as few choices as you wish. So you'll see that's advice on the ballot papers. I'll move on to the Scottish local government elections and the wards. So for South Lanarkshire, there are 20 multi-member wards in South Lanarkshire with 64 seats to be elected to. That comprises 16 3-member wards and 4 4-member wards. All elected members will have equal status on election, although the council will subsequently appoint to a number of positions. For example, Provost, who is convener of the council leader, committee chairs, etc. So I'll now do election timetable, and then I'll maybe stop just to check if there are any questions on the information we've run through. The timetable for the local government elections spans 35 working days. A copy of the main dates is provided in the nomination pack. However, I will highlight a number of the key dates. Firstly, the notice of election was published on Monday, the 14th of March 2022. Secondly, the nomination period begins on Tuesday, the 15th of March 2022, and nominations can be lodged any weekday between 10 AM and 4 PM until the statutory deadline of 4 PM on Wednesday, the 30th of March 2022. Pre-checks can be carried out during normal working hours, and I would strongly encourage you to do so as early as possible and make an appointment to ensure staff are on hand to deal with you without delay. I can't stress this point as strongly enough. We will have probably in the region of 150 to 160 prospective candidates. We're also working under a COVID set of precautions and arrangements, and we are strongly encouraging the making of an appointment so that we can ensure your papers can be checked and lodged appropriately. So please, as early as possible, do the pre-checks and make an appointment to come in and undertake the pack checks. So the key dates regarding registration and absent voting I've already run through previously. So before I go on to further sections, can I just check with colleagues, is there any comments or questions on the information we have run through today? And silence being no questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. I'll move forward on to section 7. So can you stand for election? To stand for election, you must be at least 18 years of age on the day of your nominations and either be a British citizen, an Irish citizen, an eligible Commonwealth citizen, or a qualifying foreign national, and you must not be disqualified from standing. Also, you need to be at least one of the following: registered local government elector for the local authority area that you're looking to stand within, or occupied as owner or tenant any land or premises in the local authority area during the whole 12 months preceding nomination, or have your principal or only place of work, including unpaid work, during the last 12 months within the local authority area, or lived in the local authority area during the last 12 months. Matters of eligibility or disqualification are detailed in your nomination pack for you to check. Pre-nomination and nomination packs. So Appendix 1 and 2 have already been referred to. And Appendix 3 outlines some COVID measures. And in that document, it contains detailed guidance on the measures being put in place for the issue, pre-check and lodging of nomination papers and briefings. In summary, the changes are that COVID measures are in place to deliver a safe election, and I require all stakeholders to respect those measures. The safety of electors, candidates, agents and staff are paramount in running this election, and I need to be clear on my expectations that those measures are adhered to. We ran the Scottish parliamentary elections last year. There was no attributable outbreaks of COVID in relation to that election. I would hope to achieve the same this time round. Appointments for issue and pre-check of documentation, as I mentioned, are strongly encouraged, and we will operate an appointment system for the lodging of nomination papers. So you should contact the election team, as I've mentioned, as early as possible to ensure a suitable appointment can be made for you. Electronic communications and documentations will be in place as far as possible, and briefings such as this one will be online, and registration beforehand will be required. Appendix 4 in the pre-nomination pack details further information on each of the documents in the nomination pack. It is worth discussing at this session some of the specifics detailed in that document. First of all, the notice of situation of polling places. There are 284 South Lanarkshire polling stations. That is rooms where you can actually vote. They're located within 146 polling places, i.e. the buildings. Polling places which serve more than one ward are highlighted in this document, along with details of where there have been changes to polling places since the Scottish parliamentary election in 2021. For those of you who are quite familiar with electoral processes, just do a check on your own respective wards in case of any changes. I will discuss the detail around the polling places in more detail at the post-nomination session. Guidelines for display of campaign material. The Council do not permit fly posting on street furniture or the display of A-frames outside polling places. Please ensure your supporters and your agents are aware of this, and I would be grateful if you could ensure they adhere to this. Notice of withdrawal of nomination. If you lodge your nomination and decide at a later date you wish to withdraw, you must give notice in writing. A withdrawal form is included within your nomination pack, and that would need to be returned by 4 p.m. on Wednesday, the 30th of March, 2022. In relation to shared polling places, there are 5 polling places which will serve more than one ward, and arrangements are put in place to ensure that clear division of these polling stations within each of the polling places to deal with this situation. And I'm just going to run through those in some detail so that those considering standing in these areas are clear of those arrangements. So firstly is Stonehouse Primary School. That will include Ward 5, so that's voters from SL047 and SL048 will vote at stations 1, 2, 3 and 4 into ballot boxes 65, 66, 67 and 68. For Ward 20, one voter from SL168 will vote at station 1, and that would be in ballot box 284. The second polling station is Crosshouse Primary School. Firstly, Ward 6 voters from registers SL062 and SL172 will vote at stations 1, 2 and 3. And that will be ballot boxes 88, 89 and 90. Secondly, Ward 9, voters from registers SL080 will vote at station 4, and that's ballot box 127. The third polling place is Whittlesburn Community Resource Centre. Firstly, Ward 10, one voter from register SL089 will vote at Station 1, that's ballot box 145. And secondly, Ward 13, voters from register SL107 will vote at Stations 1, 2 and 3, and that's ballot boxes 179, 180 and 181. The fourth polling place is Springwells Neighbourhood Hall. And firstly, Ward 15, voters from registers SL122 will vote at Station 1, and that's ballot box 205. Secondly, Ward 17, voters from registers SL175 will vote at Station 2, and that's ballot box 234. And then finally, the last of the shared premises is St John's Primary School. Firstly, Ward 17, so voters from registers SL131 will vote at Station 1, and that's ballot box 222. Secondly, Ward 18, that's voters from registers SL147 will vote at Station 2, and that's ballot box 249. And then finally, Ward 19, that's voters from registers SL157 will vote at Station 4, and that's ballot box 250. If you need help with any particular document, feel free to ask after the meeting or contact the election office. So what happens after the close of nominations? So I've scheduled a post-nomination session on Microsoft Teams for Thursday, the 31st of March 2022, and also on Tuesday, the 5th of April 2022 at 5:30. And that will provide you with a list of the candidates standing in each ward, i.e. the statutory notice of poll and statement of persons nominated. Secondly, the list of election agents for each of the candidates. Thirdly, the appointment of polling, counting and postal vote agents to allow you to request passes, which I'd ask you to return as quickly as possible to allow a final allocation of passes to be determined. I will highlight at this stage, because of the COVID arrangements in place, there will be a considerably fewer number of people in the count centre to ensure that we're able to have the appropriate safe systems of work and we can keep all attendees safe. But we'll cover that in subsequent sessions. My intention is to maximise the numbers I can safely get into the count venue. It will, however, mean that the numbers of returning officer guest passes are likely to be very limited. And then finally, update on the preparation for the poll, postal votes and count and related COVID measures. You will be automatically invited to attend this briefing session to ensure you're aware of the next steps being taken by me for the poll, postal votes and for the count. So moving on to poll cards and the dates. So poll cards are being dispatched to Royal Mail on Tuesday the 15th and Wednesday the 16th of March 2022 for those who were registered before Monday the 7th of February. That's in good time to inform voters of the deadlines for voting arrangements. Poll cards will be sent out to those registered between Monday the 7th of February and Monday the 21st of March 2022 on Thursday the 7th of April 2022. And those registered between Tuesday the 22nd of March 2022 and by midnight on Monday the 18th of April 2002 will be sent out in a final batch on Monday the 25th of April 2022. In relation to postal votes, currently there are around about 50,000 postal voters in South Lanarkshire. The deadline for postal vote applications has already been highlighted as 5 p.m. on Tuesday the 19th of April 2022. Application forms are downloadable from the Electoral Registration Office website or from www.gov.uk/register-to-vote. The issue of postal votes, it's intended that those postal votes will be sent first class by Thursday the 14th of April 2022 for applications processed by Tuesday the 29th of March 2022. In relation to the opening of postal votes, they'll be open from Tuesday the 19th of April. More details on the opening sessions will be provided in due course. For your information, postal voters are required by law to provide their signature unless waived and date of birth on their postal voting statement, which is returned with their ballot paper. The signature and date of birth are compared with those provided at the time of applying for the postal vote, and if either of those don't match or if there's information missing, then the postal vote will be rejected and therefore not included in the count. I am keen to ensure as few postal votes are rejected as possible, and I put in place arrangements to raise awareness of the procedures followed. Please ensure you're aware of the Electoral Commission Code of Conduct on handling postal votes, where you're asked to adhere to two key principles. First of all, uphold the secrecy of the ballot. Secondly, you should not place yourself in a situation where your honesty or integrity can be questioned. Okay, I'll just stop there if there's any comments or questions from colleagues. I'm not seeing any hands, Gordon, no. Okay, I'll move on to the count. The post-nomination sessions will provide you more information on the count, but for the moment, I would advise you of the following key points. Firstly, the venue is the John Wright Sports Centre on Calderwood Road, East Kilbride. I'll give you the postcode just for completeness. That's G743EU. And again, those who have been to previous counts will be familiar with the venue. The timing of the count starts at 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday the 6th of May 2022, with the opening of the ballot boxes, that is opening and orienting the ballot papers and placing them in the trays ready for the electronic count process, which will start at 9 AM. The count is likely to last approximately 8 hours, although it is my intention to declare results throughout the day. To minimise those attending in the venue during the day due to COVID, I am aiming to carry out the count area by area. So just to explain that, the council area is generally split into 4 administrative areas. You would recognise as Hamilton, Clydesdale, Rutherglen, Cambuslang and East Kilbride areas. My intention is to carry out the count 2 areas at a time. So there'll be pretty well a morning session and an afternoon session, and we'll provide you further detail on timings at the subsequent briefing session. In terms of e-count information, that will, as I mentioned earlier, be provided to you in due course. In the meantime, I've detailed a straightforward workflow plan as an initial guide to how e-counting works, and that's included at Appendix 5. In terms of the order of the count will be run with 5 wards being counted simultaneously. The order of the ward counts will be numerical in groups as follows. So Zone 1 will cover wards 6, 11, 16 and 1. Zone 2, wards 7, 12, 17 and 2. Zone 3 will cover wards 8, 13, 18 and 3. Zone 4 will cover wards 9, 14, 19 and 4. And then finally, Zone 5 will cover wards 10, 15, 20 and 5. And that detail will be in the note that's circulated to you. In relation to attendance at the count, I'd mentioned briefly that the numbers will be restricted. The numbers will be restricted as the number of guest passes will be severely limited due to the space constraints. A pro forma will be provided at the next briefing session for candidates and agents for this purpose. And I want to stress at this point, and I really do want to stress this, that those turning up on spec who have not applied for a pass will not be provided access to the count venue to ensure that our numbers are not breached. Count procedures, in addition to providing an update at the post-nomination sessions, you'll be aware that I've also scheduled further awareness sessions on the 25th of April 2022 and a final session to demonstrate the e-counting system at the John Wright Sports Centre on Wednesday, the 4th of May 2022. And again, more details will follow on those events in due course. In relation to candidate spending at this election, electorate information has been provided as at Thursday, the 24th of February 2022. However, the expenses limit will be updated and provided to you after Wednesday, the 23rd of March 2022, i.e. that's the last date for publication of the notice of election, and that will be in the post-nomination pack. You should refer to Part 3 of the Electoral Commission guidance with regard to spending at elections. In relation to public awareness campaign, as you'll be aware, one aspect of my role as returning officers to ensure we encourage as diverse a candidacy as possible. To that end, we've put out a series of public awareness articles locally through the South Lanarkshire Reporter articles, South Lanarkshire View, and these are available online at www.southlanarkshireview.scot/. We've also hosted web information, including videos. We've published statutory notices at public information points wherever possible, and we are working with minority groups in the South Lanarkshire Council area. We've provided information to care homes, and we've also set up election and electoral registration office helplines to deal with any queries. We also have the benefit of some national campaign material, so there's a number of national arrangements underway, some of which you may already have seen and be aware of, including press releases, radio advertisements, TV campaigns, and partnership work with corporate, public and voluntary organisations. So what happens next? So this completes the update for the session, but again, I'd like to remind you of the next two sessions. Firstly, on Thursday the 31st of March 2022 and Tuesday the 5th of April 2022 at 5:30, and that will provide post-nomination documents and information. Second sessions, Monday the 25th of April 2022 and Tuesday the 26th of April 2022 at 5:30, and that will focus on the polling day and count arrangements. And again, I would encourage you to attend these sessions to ensure you're aware of the plans leading up to and on polling day and at the count, even if, again, you've been over the course a number of times, there will be changes. So that's the script of information that I wanted to share with you. As I've mentioned, there will be a note circulated along with a copy of slides that accompany these. But again, can I open up just for any questions or comments from any prospective candidate who's attending today? And Rita Bailey, can I ask Rita to come in, please? Rita, I think you might still be muted.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I've got you now. Thank you.
Okay. Just a question. The notification of election agent to be filled out. I don't have an election agent. Do I need to fill that out or do I leave that blank?
Gordon, do you want to pick on?
Yep, certainly. If you're not appointing an election agent, you'll automatically default to be your own election agent. So if you don't fill in that part of the form, then you will automatically be appointed as your own election agent. So you don't need to fill.
That's fine. That's fine.
Thanks.
Sorry, can I just come in there as well? Your address as the election agent, if you put on your nomination form that you wish your home address to be withheld and be as an address within South Lanarkshire, but although you're election agent, your address would be your home address on the election agent form, unless you had an office address within the area of South Lanarkshire.
Okay, Rita. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
You'll find that within the guidance note in terms of defaulting to your own election agent. Okay, Alan Faulkner, can I bring Alan in, please?
Thanks, Cleland. Thanks very much for that presentation. It's just a wee question. At the start, you mentioned the IT firm. Was that Jujitsu or Fujitsu? The reason I'm asking...
Fujitsu.
So is that not the company that dealt with the post office scandal? I've just looked it up there on the phone.
I'm not aware of the details of that. They're the appointed company for the e-count, Alan. So I'm not aware of their involvement with the post office. So I couldn't.
Well, according to our phone, that was the company that was involved. It seems a bit odd that they're going to get prosecuted. But thanks for your answer anyway. Thanks for the presentation.
It's a national award of contract, so it's not for us to comment. But I don't know the detail of that case, so I I couldn't comment on it.
Doesn't mean it's right.
That's fine. I would take that up somewhere else, Alan. It's not really for me to comment on that. Okay,
Thank you.
Peter, your hand's still up. Are you wanting to come back in? Oh, sorry. I think you're muted as well. Apologies.
No, I'm
Too
sorry.
many buttons. Too many buttons.
I'm not used to this. Right, another wee question.
Sure,
You said pre-checks, right? So we take the forms into South Lanarkshire Council for a pre-check. If there's anything wrong in the form, are we sent away with it to redo it, or do they change it when you're there?
So you're given the opportunity as well to do the pre-check electronically, Rita. So I would take that opportunity, just send the information in electronically. We can get it checked and get it back to you, so that by the time you come in to do your nomination registration, then it's all pre-checked, and it makes the process a lot easier.
That's fine. Can I just do that by email then?
Yeah.
You can do that by email if you scan in the document to us. We'll pick that up and we'll check it, and then we'll get back with any comments before you actually come in to lodge the nomination papers. So
Perfect.
I think the details of where you send that, I think it's elections@southlanarkshire.gov.uk, and if we get those scans sent to us, we'll be able to pick them up and just review what you've put on there. If we've got any comments or any changes that we think need to be made, we'll let you know in advance, and then that makes the whole nomination lodging process a whole lot smoother.
That's perfect. Thanks for that.
Okay.
That's great. Thanks, Todd. So I'm not seeing any other hands. So hopefully that's been a helpful run through of information. If there are any questions that strike you after you've reflected on the information, or when you receive the note, please do get in touch with us through the election office contact details, and we'll do our best to answer your queries. There are no daft questions. That's the other thing. It's a lot easier for us if people share any concerns, any issues, or any queries up front. We can hopefully satisfy you, and we can get those back out to you as soon as we can do that, rather than wait till an issue arises. So, as I said, hopefully that was helpful. We look forward to hopefully a good candidacy in terms of the nominations, and this team will see you for the post-nomination session. Oops, sorry. Dr. Salamati, can I bring you in?
Yeah, since the forms are in PDF format, it's not Word, it's not easy to fill in, but if somebody manages to fill in electronically, and would the electronic signature be acceptable, or it has to be printed and signed the traditional way?
Yep. The legislation requires the nomination papers to be physically handed in to the election office. They have to be hard copy signed.
Hard copies you need. Okay,
yep.
thanks.
And then handed in to us.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Not seeing any other hands. Okay, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we'll see you for the post-nomination session, I hope. Thank you.
John.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.